Hello and welcome to this video. So in this video we are going to take a look at JavaScript logical operators. So logical operators are used to enable a program make decisions based on multiple conditions. Usually you will find logical operators as part of an if, a while or some other control statement in JavaScript. So the first logical operator we are going to take a look at is the AND logical operator. Now the AND logical operator in JavaScript is used to determine whether two or more operands or conditions are true, and typically this operator would be used for implementing a web application's login authentication system. Next, we also have the OR logical operator, which is used in JavaScript to determine whether at least one operand or condition is true. So now that we've taken a look at the AND logical operator and then also the OR logical operator, let's head over to our code editor and we're going to see these two operators in action. Okay guys, so as always I have my Google Chrome browser opened on the left hand side, and on the right hand side I have my Visual Studio Code editor. So we are going to go ahead and create two variables. We are going to have variable x, which is going to have the value of 3. We are also going to have variable y, which will have the value of 2. So in order to use the AND logical operator, we basically use two ampersand signs. So if I type out two ampersand signs in JavaScript, that represents an AND logical operator. And we also use two pipe symbols to represent the OR logical operator. So this will mean OR. And then when we use the ampersand signs, those ones mean AND. So I am going to be using an if statement to try and explain the difference between the AND logical operator and also the OR logical operator. I know we have not learned about if statements yet, but just bear with me because in the next two videos I'll cover if statements. So I'm going to have if, and then I'll type out all this and then I'll explain what it means. So this is a very simple if statement. Now what normally happens with if statements is that we are basically going to have a condition inside the opening and closing parentheses, and if those conditions evaluate to true, then whatever code we have inside the if block will run. Else, if the conditions we have in the parentheses evaluate to false, then the program is going to skip the entire if block and it will simply run whichever code we have written inside the else block. So we are going to say if the value of x is less than, say, 5 and the value of y is greater than, let's say, 10, then it should go ahead and run a piece of code inside the if block. So we are going to say console.log and we are going to log if block was run. And then I'm simply going to copy this piece of code here. So let's copy this out and we're going to paste it inside our else block. And then we'll simply change the if to an else. So let's save this. And once we save this, the code that is going to run is the code in the else block. So let's save this and see what happens. And we can see that inside our console, it is written else block was run. Now, why is it that the program didn't run the code in the if block? The reason is because we are using the AND logical operator. And as far as the AND logical operator is concerned, anytime you are checking conditions, all the conditions must evaluate to true before the AND logical operator returns a true. So when we check our first condition, x is less than 5, that is a true statement because, of course, in variable x, we have the value of 3 stored in there. So we all know 3 is less than 5. But when we go to the second condition, which says that y is greater than 10, that will return a false because the value inside variable y is 2 and 2 cannot be greater than 10. So the second condition returned a false and then the first condition returned a true. And because we are using the AND logical operator, the operator is going to return a false because at least one of our conditions was a false. So that is why the program skipped the if block and then went ahead and then ran the code in the else block. So what we are going to do is if we take out this 0 here, now both conditions are going to evaluate to true. So of course, the value inside variable x is 3, which is less than 5. And also the value inside variable y is 2, which is greater than 1. So condition 1 is true and condition 2 is also true. So our AND logical operator is going to return a true value, which will simply enable our program to run the code inside our if block. So let's save this. And now we can see that in the console we have if block was run. So what I want you to take out of this video is that the AND logical operator is simply used when you want to ensure that all conditions return true values. That is when we use the AND logical operator. For example, let's say you wanted to implement a login system for a web application that you have developed. This is where the AND logical operator would come into play, because then you can use the AND logical operator to check against a user who is trying to log in. So you can check against the username and password. So if you say something like, if the username is, let's say, John, and the password is maybe 12345, then it should allow that particular user log into the system. Else, it should maybe just give a message that says that the password was wrong, or maybe the username was wrong. So basically, that is our AND logical operator. Now let's talk about the OR logical operator. So the OR logical operator returns a true if at least one of the conditions returns a true value. So I'm going to take out the AND logical operator and I'm going to type out the OR logical operator. Now, when we save this, the code in the if block is going to run because we are using the OR logical operator. If any of the conditions evaluates to true, then the OR logical operator is going to return a true. And so we'll run the code that is inside the if block. So let's save this, and we can see that in the console, we still see if block was run. Now, even if I change the 1 to 10 again and I save, I'll still get if block was run, because even though the second condition evaluates to a false, because the value of y is 2 and 2 is not greater than 10, so that's a false. But the first condition, which says that x is less than 5, is a true. So we can see that condition 2 was false, but condition 1 was a true. And because we are using the OR logical operator, and that one says that at least one of the conditions must be true before it returns a true, so that is how come the code inside the if block was run. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to change this to a greater than sign. Now, what this means is this, that the value of x must be greater than 5, and also the value of y must be greater than 10. Now, inside variable x, we have the value of 3, which is not greater than 5, and so that is going to return a false. Now, when we go to condition 2, the value of y is 2, and 2 cannot be greater than 10, so that is also going to return a false. So in the end, both condition 1 and condition 2 are both going to return false values. And because they are both false and none of them return the true value, the program is simply going to skip whichever code we have in the if block, and it will go ahead and run the code we have in the else block. So when we save this line of code, we can see that now in the console we have else block was run. So basically, that is the difference between the OR logical operator and also the AND logical operator. So we said that anytime we use the AND logical operator, all the conditions that we are checking against must all be true before the AND logical operator will return a true value. But anytime we use the OR logical operator, at least one of the conditions that we are checking against must be true for the OR logical operator to return a true value. So I guess that is going to be all for this video, and if you like these videos that I create, I urge you to click on the subscribe button, because it encourages me to create more of these kinds of videos. And if you have any questions about logical operators in JavaScript, you can feel free to leave it in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.